Am I the a-hole for refusing to buy my husband an expensive car even though I have the money? My husband, male 35, and I, female 30, have been married for the past 10 years, and we have 5 amazing daughters together. Because of that, I dropped out of college and have been a stay-at-home mom for the past 10 years when we had our oldest daughter. My husband is the breadwinner, and I take care of all the chores and childcare. While my husband earns quite a bit of money, which allows us to live comfortably, he is also obsessed with budgeting. Thus, I typically only have enough for household expenses. For the past 5 years, I have been working on a series of books. I have been writing everywhere I could. 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, and while I sacrificed a lot of sleep, I have managed to finish my series, unbeknown to my husband. I kept it a secret because he always considered it a waste of time. It was tough, but I managed to get an agent and was incredibly lucky to get a deal to have my series published. I was ecstatic, and when they told me how big my advance would be, I almost fainted. It's much more than I expected for a first-time deal, like in higher 5 digits. I haven't told my husband yet, and I had to borrow money from my sister to get an accountant. Ideally, I want that money saved up should something happen because I honestly don't know the details of our home finances, or for our kids' future, whatever will be needed. Plus, I would love to have some spending money without asking my husband Greg. However, Greg found my contract, and he is now demanding I get him a new car for Christmas. A very expensive new car, which cost the majority of my advance. I politely refused, saying that he didn't need a car that expensive, and that money was supposed to be saved up. I tried to explain my position, but he wouldn't have it. He basically called me an a-hole without actually using the word. He said that because he supported me all these years, I owe him, and without him and his money, I wouldn't be where I am now. He's told me that I either buy him a car, or I have to start paying for household expenses half and half. The thing is, I would still be a stay-at-home mom, and I don't know if my book will be a success. For all I know, this will be the only money I will ever get from my book deal because it will flop. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to buy my husband a car even though I have the money? Now for the top comments. Everyone sucks here. You have lived off his money for years, but you keep your own income a secret? Yeah, you're the a-hole. Mind you, he is definitely the a-hole too for demanding an expensive car and the way he spoke to you. But why would his money have to go to the household and your money to you? I wanted to work, but he insisted I was stay-at-home mom. I was going to come back to work when all our kids are in school, but he kept wanting more children, which kept pushing me further from coming back to work. I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, but it was his dream, and with so many kids, it was only reasonable. I don't have access to our main account. I don't even know how much he earns. I only thought it's fair that I kept my money aside, because I know very well that he has his own savings account separate to our main money. OP, everything you've said here is alarming, and points towards abusive behaviors. Do not give him a dime of your money. And please, have a hard think on whether this is the way you want to continue living your life. I know you have 5 kids together. I get it, and understand. A 10-year marriage is a long time to throw away, but I was married to someone for years who mentally and emotionally mistreated me. He demanded that I hand over all of my money to him and would never let me have a dime. He told me my money was his to do what he wanted with it, threw away all of his money on drugs and God knows what else. It even controlled the finances and hid them from me, while he paid none of the bills and lost every place we tried to live in, forcing us to constantly be evicted. I wanted to get a job at a time but couldn't, because he took the only vehicle we had at a time and never allowed me to go anywhere, not even with him because he was too busy meeting up his drug buddies and wanted to keep it a secret. Your situation is not as extreme, but your husband is also abusive. He is controlling and entitled. He is extremely critical of you and doesn't respect your life goals or even any of your wishes. Even worse, he ridicules your hopes and dreams, and now that you succeeded at doing something he said you could never do, he is now demanding that you spend the money on him. You are being manipulated. There is no doubt about it. You're also being blackmailed and punished by being told you'll face serious consequences if you don't give him what he's demanding. I would not buy him a car. You do not owe him a thing. The only thing you owe him is to pack suitcases for you and your kids and to demand you either straighten up or I'll leave. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my girlfriend she should have asked me to move in? My girlfriend, 26 female, and I, 27 male, have been together for just over a year. She'll be graduating in January from graduate school and has a well-paying job lined up. Her parents bought an apartment years ago as an investment property, and she'll be living in it and taking over the mortgage. It's a very spacious 2-bedroom. That will be a total of $2,300 per month, which average in our area. It's pretty pricey and costs over half of her monthly income, so I was concerned about her living there alone. This is when I suggested that I move in. It's a great space, and we would have our own rooms, and would get to live together, and she would be able to have a more affordable rent. I currently live by myself, and my rent is $2,000 a month, so it would help me too. So basically, win-win-win. She said she's always lived at home, and so she wants to be by herself before deciding if she wanted to live with anyone else for a while, and not to worry about it and should figure it out. I thought maybe her parents would help out with the rent, and I dropped it. Then last week, she told me about how she was excited to move in soon, and then told me she'd gotten a roommate and they'd been furniture shopping together. Her roommate is a girl she completed grad school with. Obviously, I was hurt. I offered to move in first and we're dating, which I think means more than a classmate. I also said how having a roommate is not very be by herself of her. She said she thought we were too early in our relationship to live together, and living with a partner is different from living with a friend. I think she's just making excuses for blindsiding me. I said she should have at least considered me and that I was hurt that she put a friend above me, when I honestly and genuinely try to help her. I've kinda accepted that she's moving in with her classmates, and I've been cordial about it so she can be excited about this move and her new job. But I'm still hurt. Am I the a-hole? You're the a-hole. You're dating. You aren't married. She has stated outright she's not ready to live with a boyfriend. You can be hurt as you're entitled to your feelings, but at the same time, do you really want to force something on her she isn't ready for? Also, living with a friend is massively different than living with a romantic partner. It just is. That you don't get that is a little red flaggy. I mostly agree with you, but she did initially tell him she wants to be by herself, not she's not ready to live with a boyfriend. I would understand why he's upset that she would then get a roommate, because that's definitely not the same as being by herself. But I completely agree that living with a partner is a completely different beast than just having a roommate. I hope he needs to realize that. My guess is that it was just simple miscommunication with her initial comment. It could just be a matter of phrasing though. I moved out on my own from my mom's place when I went to college, but I still had roommates. She could have meant she wanted to live with not family/partner before making that commitment. Learning how to live with a roommate will also better prepare her to live with a partner down the line. You're the a-hole. You're attempting to emotionally manipulate someone into taking a romantic step they explicitly said they aren't ready for. Asking to move in when you weren't invited was already borderline. Pretending to be blindsided that your girlfriend doesn't want you to move in after she clearly communicated that is ridiculous. You were not entitled to live in your girlfriend's home. You keep saying you were trying to help? I don't buy that at all. Why are you so upset that she doesn't need your help? Agreed. He's trying to help himself to her spacious apartment, less rent, and pushing her boundaries on living with a partner. I don't see him lasting much longer with his cordial attitude. You're the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my boyfriend he needs to move? For context, I, 30 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 31 male, going on a year. When we first met, he let me know that he is divorced with 3 children, 6 male, 4 female, and a stepson, 8 male that he considers his son. He also let me know his situation was unique and he was okay if I didn't want to continue dating. Him and his ex-wife are great friends. They simply got married too young and realized they were different people. Neither wanted to split custody, so they turned their home into a duplex. That way they could both see the kids every day, and if his son wanted to see him, he could just come over. I cannot have children, and he explained he would not have more. Although it was a unique situation, he is a great guy, so I kept it going. Now a year in, he still is a great guy and I love him. However, I can't help but feel like I'm on the side of the real family. The ex still comes to all the holidays. The kids knock and can come in whenever. One of the kids is not really even his, but still has open access to him. I think now that we're serious, things need to change. I suggested a move so that we can maintain a life outside of the family, and he can move on. Well, he blew up and called me an a-hole for suggesting it. He said he isn't and never will be a weekend dad. But I'm just trying to look out for us and start our family. My sister agrees I'm the a-hole, since he was upfront. But am I really? Would having him move out really be an a-hole thing? Now for the comments. Isn't your role be the romantic partner? Did you want to be his daughter too? No, I want to be family. I want to come up with holiday traditions or be going to his mom's house. But his ex still does that, and I feel like a side piece. Info. Do you and his ex get along? Why can't you all spend holidays together? We tolerate each other. As far as I know, she doesn't mind me. I get the impression she doesn't really care about me at all. And I can be there. But then I'm at her house with her kids, doing her traditions, and it feels like I'm with her husband. I feel like you're the a-hole here. You knew his situation going into this. It works for them, so there's no reason to move. You feeling outside the family is a you issue. It doesn't mean you need to separate him from his kids. From reading your comment, you feel outside the family because you don't like their parenting arrangements. Well, guess what? He was parenting these kids long before you came into his life. He'll still be parenting them after you leave. It actually sounds like they have an amazing arrangement, and it certainly wouldn't stop you having a life together if he didn't move. Because they still operate as a family other than romantically. I feel like I'm only feeling the romantic part, but he has his family. One of the kids is not really even his. You're the a-hole. Wow. Right? I hope he sees this and leaves her. You're the a-hole. His kids are already his family. And if you want to be a part of it, then you're gonna have to accept the kids. From the way it sounds, you didn't ask him to move in with you. You asked him to move away from his kids. Last story. Am I the a-hole for abandoning my wife on Christmas to be with my grieving friend? This gets brought up in every single argument we have, so I'd like an outside verdict to settle it once and for all. My wife and I, 29 male, chose to spend Christmas with my in-laws last year. Because they live a few states from us, we don't get around to seeing them in person very often. We both took time off work and flew in the week before the 25th. It wasn't my dream way to use my personal time off or spend holidays, but it was valuable family time for my wife that we hadn't gotten in a while. 2 days after we arrived, I got a heart-wrenching call from my closest friend, 26 male, telling me that his father likely wasn't going to make it. I knew he had been in the hospital for a while, but now it looked like things were taking a turn for the worst. This is someone I've known since I was 16, whose family I'm closer to than my in-laws. This is also a person who is extremely selfless and rarely asks for anything for himself. When he asked me to come be with him, I dropped everything to make that happen. There's no limit on what I would do for him on a good day, so in circumstances like these, coming home felt like the only option. Flights around that time aren't always easy to come by, and the one I booked was fairly expensive. In my rush to get home as quickly as possible, I ended up booking the ticket under mine and my wife's shared bank account. Once I realized this mistake, I immediately transferred money from my account to cover it. My wife was not happy about any of it. She begrudgingly offered to come with me, but I declined, saying the most of my time would likely be spent in a hospital waiting room. I didn't want her to be at home alone during the holidays, or awkwardly standing by a comforted friend. I reassured her that I would be back before the 25th, and that she should continue her family time as usual. That didn't end up happening. Friend's father passed the following day, and with grief, funeral preparations, and a lack of viable flights, I didn't end up going back to be with my wife and her family. Me missing Christmas has gotten thrown in my face a lot since then, and it always makes me uncomfortable. I know I hurt my wife, but sometimes it's difficult for me to sympathize with her in this situation when my friend was going through the worst time of his life. Am I the a-hole? Why did you promise you'd be back by Christmas? The dad was dying, right? But you thought you'd leave, spend a day flying home, a day with your buddy, a day flying back, and that was enough? Honestly, it sounds impossible that you'd fly out a week before the 25th, spend 2 days, then a day of travel there and a day back, and anticipate you'd have the perfect flight available for returning without checking. Did you honestly think you could make this work? It was more of a platitude than anything, I'll admit. I had a flight to catch and was expected to give an answer about when I'd make it back before I could go. I didn't have those answers yet. Yeah, that's the problem. You lied because you were too scared to be honest, and your wife is still angry. Unless you are currently writing from your in-laws' home where you returned for a do-over, you're the a-hole. Must be tough liking your friend more than your wife, and his family more than yours. I wouldn't say it's tough liking his family more than my in-laws. All family dynamics are complicated, and who we get along better with is because of a lot of different factors. My life and his life have been so entwined over the last 10 plus years that it just makes sense in my mind. His little brother feels like my little brother. His parents feel like my own, etc. You're the a-hole. You didn't want to spend Christmas with your wife's family and used the aftermath as an excuse. If it was really because of flights, you wouldn't have added the rest. I hope you're spending this Christmas with your wife's family to make up for it. Yes, exactly. In fact, I'm sure he was behind his best friend's father's death just to get out of spending Christmas with her family. This is really reaching. Nowhere is it stated that he has any issues with or wants to get away from her family. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for getting upset with one of my coworkers who used my sonogram to fool her ex-boyfriend into thinking she was pregnant? Hello everyone, I'm 27 female. My husband and I found out 2 months ago we are expecting our first child. Last week, we officially announced it via text and phone calls to our friends and family. The next day at work, I found out that one of my coworkers had taken the photo of the sonogram I had sent them in the group text. Someone had asked to see it and posted it on her social media to fool her ex-boyfriend, who she broke up with a few weeks ago, into thinking she was pregnant. I never wanted my sonogram on the internet. I don't have a Facebook or an Instagram or anything like that. And I feel extremely uncomfortable that it's out there without me being able to control the audience if who is looking at it. Also, this seems like an extremely cruel trick to play on someone, and she used my sonogram as a prop for this mean joke. When I expressed that I was upset to my coworker, she said I was being dramatic, and I'm just looking for something to be upset over. She said she covered up all identifying information, and that it was only up for a few hours, and she told her ex-boyfriend the truth after making him sweat for a bit. Are pregnancy hormones making me more upset about this than I should be? Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Absolutely not the a-hole. What in the world was she thinking? This is a huge invasion of your privacy. I mean, I'm not even touching the can of worms of the prank she played on her boyfriend, because holy hell. I'm just focusing on your involvement here. To be completely honest, I'd go to HR about this. But you do you. It's absolutely unacceptable behavior. And frankly, I think it's time to not be on a group chat with her. This is not someone you need having access to your life outside professional boundaries. She took an extremely beautiful, wonderful moment of your life and twisted it for her own sick pleasure. Yes, a visit to HR is totally warranted, and I would definitely keep things strictly professional with her from now on. I'm seeing multiple reasons to never interact with her if you don't have to. Most definitely involve HR. Also in the future, as if you don't already know, keep your cards close to your chest. Not the a-hole. In addition to being a pretty sick joke, that's completely out of line to post someone else's sonogram. I feel bad for her boyfriend. What kind of relationship is built on the foundation of making your significant other sweat for a bit? Jesus Christ. Well, he's probably next for a reason. Not the a-hole. You did not post your child's picture on the internet. It was a horrible joke to play. All you have is her word she took it down. It might still be up. Even if she did take it down, it's possible someone else screenshot it along with her message to show someone else how terrible the coworker treated the ex. Personally, I would get someone to check her webpage to make sure the post was taken down. They contact the ex and explain what happened and that you would like the picture deleted if any of his friends screenshot the picture. Honestly, if she has done something like this in the past, stalking him, he might be trying to get evidence to get a restraining order against her. And there would be your baby's first picture and a police report. Also, never share any pictures of your child again with her. Show them to her, but not via the net. On another note, congrats! May your baby always sleep through the night and rarely cry. Thank you. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting a prenup? I was married for 9 years. We have 2 children, 7 male and 6 female. 3 years ago, after a sudden illness, she passed away. It was the most devastating thing to ever happen to me. The only reason I made it through is because of my kids and needing to be strong for them. I used my wife's life insurance to pay off the mortgage. It's in a beautiful area, excellent schools, and very low taxes. If anything happens to me, I have things set up so that my wife's sister will be our children's guardian and they can remain in the house. I carry enough life insurance that they won't ever lose the home. Shortly after my wife passed, an old girlfriend reached out to offer condolences. She has 3 kids. One is in her 20s, one is a teenager, and one is 3. She was incredibly supportive, cooked meals, helped out with the kids, and was amazing to my family. About a year ago, we both admitted we still had those feelings and started dating again. It's been strange to be with someone again. I don't want to say it's easier, but at the same time, I feel like it would have been much harder to try to meet someone. I don't know if I ever would have gone looking. I still love my wife, and my kids are number 1 in my heart. A few weeks ago, she brought up marriage. I said I wasn't there yet, and she understood. When I thought about it, I sat down with her and explained that everything is set up to provide for my children in the event something happens to me. I told her that I wasn't there yet, but that if we were to get married, I would want a prenup. I told her what I have in place, informed her that the house would go to my children, my life insurance would remain in their names, and any assets I already owned would be exempt in the event of divorce. As she would need to sell her home, I told her that we would write it into the agreement that the money from the sale of her home was hers. She was very hurt and told me that if anything happened to me, she wanted to be the one to raise my children and give them a good life. She told me that she wanted us to have the family that we never got to have because we broke up. I replied that if we got married, I was willing to revisit guardianship, but I can't see budging on assets, at least until they got through college, because I could never forgive myself if their future was in jeopardy. We broke up because she cheated, and while she's told me it was the biggest mistake of her life and showed me she's changed, it's still in the back of my mind. I offered to take out additional life insurance, naming her the beneficiary. She says it's not about forging a partnership, and she doesn't want to feel like a removable guest in the marriage. She's opposed to any prenuptial agreement. Some friends have told me I'm only protecting my children. Others have pointed out that she's been there for me for almost 3 years in whatever way I've needed, and I'm hurting her by putting conditions and everything. Edit, clarifying that she cheated over 10 years ago when we were originally together. I met my wife right after, and we've remained friendly after I forgave her. Not day haul. To be honest, the timing of her reaching out and being so very helpful seems a bit suspicious. Like she maybe saw an opportunity for a nice house for her kids. The fact that she cheated, after the prenup discussion I think, shows her true colors. Not day haul. I'm getting the she who controls the children controls the money vibe from her. You have offered reasonable options to protect her financially in the event of your passing, but she seems to want it all. That right there is a big red flag for me. You nailed it. In her mind, it's maybe their children, so their money's mine now. Absolutely, unequivocally not day haul. You have a duty to your children to protect them and their assets. Second marriages complicate things, so the only right thing to do is a prenup. It's not even about divorce, but also in the case of your death. Sorry, I don't mean to be morbid. Most single parents would agree with us. It's odd to me that she was hurt. If she doesn't want a prenup, you need to ask yourself why. She may have been there for the past 3, but she's also cheated, which proves she cannot be fully trusted. No apology needed. Since my wife got sick, I have been living my life with the express purpose of ensuring my family's future after I'm gone. A lot of people tell me it's morbid, but it's what has motivated me to work, to get out of bed, to force myself to get through each day. I need to know that they'll be okay if I'm not here anymore. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my family that my brother earns less than his wife? My brother, male 32, who we'll call Luke, is a good guy, but he's very lazy. He's always wanted money but never wanted to work for it. His wife, female 30, who we'll call Jane, is awesome. Me and my wife are so happy he's with her because she's just very kind and funny and has become a good friend to us as well as family member, particularly with my wife. She has a high-paying job. She lives in a nice house, buys nice things, have a nice car, etc. My brother has a pretty normal job. He's not very ambitious, and now that he's with her, he's content with that, which is totally fine, by the way. Jane has told my wife a couple times that she doesn't mind paying for everything, but that doesn't like to talk about it in public and get defensive if she mentions anything that she bought when friends or family are present. I've noticed this too. Well, my parents got vaccinated, so we all went there for dinner. It was a great time. At one point, my dad is talking about finances and saving, etc. And my brother mentions the house he bought and the car he bought. Me and my wife are rolling our eyes while Jane looks a little disgruntled. And then at one point he says, yes, we have a simple relationship with money. I make it, she spends it. Like a joke, but joking about the wrong thing if that makes sense, because he's alluding to the fact that this is true. So I say, look, that's a bit unfair. Jane is the breadwinner in your household, and she bought the house and the car, didn't she? He laughs and says, no. So I don't bother after that. He called me later and blasted me saying it was none of my business. And so what if she bought those things? I said he should be a little more appreciative and respectful. We haven't spoken since, and my mom and dad are annoyed that I said it because it made dinner awkward. Edit. Jane appreciated it. Now for the top comments. He brought this on himself when he kept going on about how only he paid for stuff. Normal couples say we bought a house. You just ask for some decency for his wife. Not an a-hole. Agreed. He was a bit of an a-hole then, but that joke makes it far worse. Hope he did the right thing. Not an a-hole. It's one thing to keep quiet about it if it's not something you want to share. It's a completely different thing when you're enjoying the comforts provided to you and then lying about the person providing the comfort by openly saying you're the one doing it all. That's utter BS. Totally not an a-hole. I'm sure Jane appreciated that very much. Not an a-hole, but I really don't understand why Jane is with this a-hole. It's hard now to try and defend him, but he isn't a bad dude. They're together because he's funny, they're charismatic, and actually means well. I think, like all of us, he's just deeply flawed, and this is one of the ugly sides of it. He respects his wife and loves her very much, as does she with him. But he's just a bit of a prickhead sometimes and needs to be told it. There will be no real long-last bad blood. I think it just needed someone to remind him how fortunate he is, and that he should be a little more appreciative and respectful of the fact and life that his wife is able to give him. Not at a-hole. You should let him know that no one ever thinks less of him because of the money he makes. Let him know you only think less of him when he puts his wife down and suggests in front of all of you that she doesn't contribute to the household. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to look after my daughter and telling my husband it was his problem to find babysitting? I, 35 female, changed industries at the beginning of this year and moved from a job where I worked 9 days a fortnight to working 5 days every week. Prior to this, my husband, 36 male, and I had been alternating spending a day during the week looking after our 1-year-old daughter. I told him that I wouldn't be able to do this anymore as I was now working full-time, and we should consider either a nanny or an extra day of childcare. But he said that his mother wouldn't like it, and he'd figure something out. Well, it turns out that the thing he figured out was that I'd be able to start work from home for a few days a week after I'd been at the new job for a few months. So a couple of weeks ago, he went in for work on the day we didn't have childcare and made me look after the baby. After this, I said this couldn't be relied on for this, because work from home means work from home. It doesn't mean work from home while dealing with a 1-year-old. The advantage of work from home was the lack of commute. Anyway, this Friday after work, he tells me that he needs me to look after the baby on Monday while he goes and trains a new employee. I said it doesn't work for me as I have work, and I have a client meeting that morning, so I don't have that much flexibility. He told me it was not feasible for him to take every Monday off, and I had to do it sometimes. And I was like, well, I can't. He then asked me what would make me happy. And I said what would make me happy was going back in time and listening to me when I said we should arrange an extra day of childcare, and it was his decision not to do that. So he should figure out what to do with the baby and stop making it my problem. My husband was furious with me because he thinks I'm not trying to make any compromises and putting my career before this. The way I see it, he's not taking my career seriously and is jeopardizing my reputation for reliability while I'm still in my probation phase in a new job and new industry. My husband works for his parents and has for most of his life, so I don't think he realizes what the norms are for normal employment. So, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. He created this issue by unilaterally deciding that Monday childcare was out of the question because his mother wouldn't like it. He needs to figure this out on his own. To the extent he asks for help finding childcare for Monday, I'd help, but only after he acknowledged this was a situation of his own making. You're justified in feeling he doesn't respect your career. His behavior here suggests exactly that. He also seems very comfortable making a mess and expecting you to clean it up without acknowledging he made it in the first place. This is troubling. Hold the line and insist this gets sorted out properly to avoid his bad behavior in the future. Not Dehal. And why does his mother have veto power over your childcare decisions in his mind? But he said that his mother wouldn't like it. Info. Why does his mother's feelings factor into how your kid is taken care of? He is a total mama's boy. I knew this when I married him, and I get along with his mother quite well. Maybe she can come over and help. Anyway, you're not Dehal, and you're right in saying he is not taking your career seriously. However, instead of making it his problem, have another conversation where you discuss a plan which works for the both of you. Additional daycare or nanny, or ask him to ask mommy for help. Both of you decide which option is best, and don't let him wiggle out of this conversation. Not Dehal. Now that he realizes I'm not going to be flexible, we are getting another day of childcare. We had this discussion before I started my new job, but he didn't want her to go an extra day, and figured that I could just look after her while working. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for making my mom feel like a bad mom and telling her off for leaving? I, female 18, have two little sisters, 15 and 16. My mom had an affair when I was 14, which caused my parents' divorce, and she later remarried her husband. He has a hell of a lot of kids, 7, 8, 10, 12, and 13. My mom never even gave us a chance to get to know them or anything. We were just forced to move into a bigger house and call them family. I still live with my mom. Due to my dad in and out of the hospital, I was never able to live with him. Now, we can't even visit him because he's high risk and could easily catch COVID, so we're still figuring out how we can see him without risking his health. My mom pulled a stunt last Monday. She left with her husband for a week to have them time. She didn't say anything to me or any of the other kids until I called her asking where she was. She didn't even leave any money for us to shop for food. Yes, she left during a freaking pandemic. She returned literally an hour ago, 12 a.m., and I blew up at her because I missed work all week and might get fired. I missed practice and risked getting kicked off the team. And the three oldest kids, not my bio sisters, were so horribly behaved the entire week. I told her they're not my responsibility for one, and she knows I'm not comfortable babysitting anyone's kids except my sisters. I told her the next time she and her husband wanted them time to lock themselves in their room rather than leaving and being inconsiderate. She started crying and said I'm making her feel like a bad mom when she didn't do anything wrong. My aunt called me and said I'm grown and need to get over my little girl feelings and apologize to my mom because I was mean for no reason. I said I had a reason to be mean and I wasn't apologizing. I'm only now writing this because I feel like maybe I was over the top and a-hole-ish. So, am I the a-hole? Now, for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your mother was incredibly responsible. You have no obligation to tend to your younger siblings or the stepkids. Those children are her and her husband's responsibility. By leaving them like that, she was certainly behaving like a bad mom. Honestly, you would have been within your rights to call social services and report abandoned children, because that is what she did. She just walked away from a bunch of minor children without making any sort of arrangements for their care. She didn't even leave food for them. That is a failure for her most basic duty as a mother. You are your own person. You're not an extension of her. You don't have to fill in for her whenever she feels like abdicating mother duties. Honestly, you would have been within your rights to call social services and report abandoned children. Absolutely. If she does it again, call CPS. At the very least, she needs to tell the person babysitting that they're babysitting. And make sure the kids have food. Grapes. This is the most horrifying and irresponsible thing I've ever read. And I'm so mad on behalf of the OP. OP, you are not the a-hole in any way. Is your mother insane? Not the a-hole. This was literally child abandonment. You may be 18, but you can't take care of 7 minors on your own. If she pulls a stunt like this again, you should call CPS. Absolutely this. I work in a related field and can confirm most states would take action to this behavior. OP, you're more of an adult than your mom is, and definitely not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You're still in school and being made to babysit 7 children, and she has the audacity to say you were mean for being upset at her? Being in trouble for work isn't a little girl problem either. WTF. Edit. I didn't think this called for CPS, and I'm hoping she doesn't do it again so I don't have to call them. Plus, I think they tell who makes a report, and I don't want to go through that. I am saving to move out, but I'm back some money because I had to come out of pocket to order food the first few days, then buy groceries. I also don't want to leave my sisters until at least my baby sister is 17. My cousin, Aunt's daughter, has joined in and called me a child. She's 20, and a bad daughter for making my mom feel bad about having fun. My step-sibling's bio mom is an addict. I don't know any of her info anyways to get in contact with her. Edit 2. So, I told my mom the funds I spent the week she was gone, and she's going to pay me back for that. My boss texted me not to come into work, and I think that translates to I'm fired. So, someone asked why I missed work when my sisters could have watched them. Well, the 7, 8, and 10 years old have online school and needs help with the class setup and doing work, and my sisters have to go to their classes too. I see someone suggest I get custody of my sisters and live with my dad after isolation. I like that idea, and I'll have to talk to him about that. I will think about the CPS issue. The whole thing is just terrifying. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I'm not giving her any baby updates? I'm 32 weeks pregnant with my second baby. Last scan was diagnosed with a defect showing left lung isn't growing well. Heart's not in the right spot and will require intubation and ventilation at birth and surgery shortly after. This means NICU time as well. We told our parents when we found out. My in-laws offered support and asked if we were going to make this news public. I said I'm waiting for follow-up tests to see how severe the prognosis is. I'm a very private person and hate putting my life out there to elicit sympathy. They asked if they could tell any of their friends if they ask how the pregnancy is going. They have a very tight-knit group who raised families together, and it isn't uncommon to share this type of news with each other. I told my mother-in-law that I don't mind if she discusses it with some of her closer friends because they've been indirectly involved in our life through her. Many brought meals when my first was born and checked on me when I was going through postnatal depression and anxiety. 2 days after the diagnosis, I got messages out of the blue from my family, who I haven't spoken to in years. The extent of our relationship is the occasional reaction to a post in social media, but never messages or questions about my life. Some of the messages were straight up to the point, "Your mom said something was wrong with your baby?" with questions that I don't have answers to, but others were like, "It's been a while. How are you?" Since I don't have that type of relationship with them, I kept it to small talk. I called mom and blew up at her. Said she didn't have the right to share my news, that I'd said that since I don't have all the answers, I don't want to be hounded with questions. I've been trying to avoid Dr. Google essays to avoid a million different scenarios. I didn't think I needed to ask to keep this to herself because it's personal in nature. She said, "I just sent out a message asking for prayer. So-and-so's a nurse said you need to go see X specialist for another opinion. You're being extremely selfish and ungrateful towards people who want to support you." Then ended with, "F it. Since you can't appreciate support and don't value a lifeline, just let me know when your baby's born. I don't want to hear anything else." I said that worked for me. Now I'm getting calls from family saying that I've really upset her, that I should let her know how things are going because she's really stressed out about her granddaughter. Part of me thinks I may have overreacted, and my husband said that I was so different to his parents than I was to her, but I genuinely appreciated that his parents asked permission about how much they were allowed to disclose, whereas my mom instantly made it all about her pain and worry. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's really unfortunate that you and your baby are going through this. It's not fair your mother broke your boundaries and is allowing her family to guilt trip you. You're freaking pregnant. The last thing any pregnant person needs is stress and turmoil, let alone someone with a difficult pregnancy. If they can't respect boundaries, they get put on a tighter leash. If mom is worried about her granddaughter, she can support her by not being an a-hole and stressing you out. She said it herself. Only tell her when baby is born. So if that's what she wants, it's her own fault. Stay strong for the baby. I hope you both have a safe pregnancy. My husband said that I was so different to his parents than I was to her. Something tells me there's more to this if her husband brings this up. There's two sides to every story. Am I the a-hole? No. But, as a fellow expecting mother in a current and high-risk pregnancy, let me tell you that this isn't really, or rather ought not to be, about you being angry with your mom and annoyed with your previously distanced family for now showing up with a million questions and unsolicited advice. Don't get me wrong, that stuff is all truly agitating, but it's not what you should be focused on. Focus on yourself and the life you are carrying. Do what works for you. Stay away from social media. Don't answer the phone or texts if you don't want to talk. Be selfish. You have the right and the obligation to be selfish right now. If you are happy with your team of treating physicians, stay the course and put your trust in them. If you have doubts, seek out referrals from known and trusted sources and feel empowered to make whatever changes to your medical team you need to in order to feel the most comforted during this time of uncertainty and distress. Not a a-hole, but also don't worry about it. Worry about taking care of you and yours. I'm sending you strength and support. Just let me know when your baby is born. I don't want to hear anything else. If she didn't mean it, she shouldn't have said it. All you did was agree with her, not the a-hole. The next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my brother that my niece and nephew weren't the first things on my mind when shopping for home decor? Okay, so I finally got to move back into my apartment and properly furnish it and decorate it. I had a damn good time buying a bunch of stuff, especially plants. I spent all weekend decorating my apartment and liked the outcome of it. I posted pictures on social media of my favorite rooms, living room and my bedroom. In the living room, I have plants up, a rather large bookshelf, and on the lower shelves are my trophies. You know, not baby-friendly. My apartment isn't baby-proofed at all and won't be until I decide I want a baby. My brother called me and asked to see my apartment, so I showed him all of it. He seemed hesitant about something, so I asked what the problem was, and he said, "It's nice, but that's not exactly child-friendly." I was confused and asked him to elaborate. He says, "Well, what if niece and nephew spends the weekend over? They'll ruin everything because they have easy access to it." Instantly, I got annoyed. Like, I understand his point, but my thought process wasn't, maybe I shouldn't get this because niece can get into it easily. It was me buying things I want because I liked it. So I told him that, I said, niece and nephew weren't the first things I thought about while shopping, and he hung up on me. My sister-in-law messaged me a super passive-aggressive text and ended it with, "Glad to know you care about your niece and nephew's well-being." I've been sitting on this since yesterday because initially I felt I was in the right, but I sort of feel like the a-hole for what I told him. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I feel bad not replying to everyone, but the most asked is if I watch them on weekends before I moved. Yes and no. I watched them when they visited my mom and I still live at home. Other than that, I didn't. And I never told them I'd watch the kids when I moved. And my niece is 5 and nephew is 3. Not the a-hole. When I was a kid and I wanted to spend a weekend with my grandparents, they traded houses with my parents because our home was kid-friendly and theirs were not. Sounds like they wanted to impose rather than have you spend quality time with them. Man, this is genius. Not a a-hole. Sounds like your brother and his wife are either annoyed that you're not an option for free babysitting, or that how dare you not think your niece and nephew are the most important things on the planet. The fact he went instantly talking about them staying with you shows it's likely the former. I definitely got the "could the kids stay with you this weekend while we do grown-up stuff" vibe from this, yes. Not a a-hole. What a ridiculous attitude for them to take. Do they expect a single adult to have baby bumpers and covered outlets on the occasional chance that their cherubs graze the place? Edited to add, single as in childless, not commenting on your social life. Yeah, the baby-proofed tools all around and they expect me to have baby toys around for their entertainment when they come over. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister I won't move across the country with her or take care of my nephew anymore? A little backstory. I'm female 26. When I was 16, my mom moved her and myself across the world, UK to US, to be with my sister as she was going through IVF. I lost all my friends and drifted apart from family. I'm 26 now and finally really happy living here. I love my nephew. He's my best friend. I was technically his nanny for about a year and we are super close. Usually if I'm not working, I'm with him. Camping trips, theme park trips, adventures together. If my nephew wasn't part of the equation, I probably wouldn't even speak to my sister. Now she's decided they want to leave the state we live in and move to the other side of the country. And she expects us all to go. She's been asking me for almost 2 weeks. She said my mom asking me, but I don't want to. I'm an adult and I will not have my life thrown into absolute chaos for her again. So I told her this as she was badgering me to move with them. She called me a dramatic witch and said I'm being completely unreasonable and it would be nice to have a change. I told her no, and if she's really planning on moving and taking my nephew, then she cannot rely on me for childcare anymore because it's going to break both mine and my nephew's hearts when we are separated and not 15 minutes away from each other. Now I'm the family villain and barely anybody's speaking to me because I'm so dramatic and rude. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Your sister wants to move and expects you to move as well so you can provide childcare? Is she nuts? You don't have to disrupt your life just so her life is easier. Why on earth is your family calling you dramatic? I take it your sister is the favorite child? Well, the mom moved the family to another country for her, so I think it's safe to say she's definitely the golden child. Not the a-hole. It's your life. You're not a child anymore. Your mom and sister have no right to uproot you. You don't even say why they want to move, so I'm guessing it's not a good one like a fantastic job opportunity. I know you'll be heartbroken to be parted from your little buddy, but it seems that the only reason they want you to move is to continue the free childcare. Be free, OP. Live life on your terms. Not at a-hole. No wonder you say you would have nothing to do with your sister if it weren't for your nephew. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.